Hi, it's Todd Gifford, bombsweapon.com. Well, I want people to expand their minds. Consider that one way that the government makes security is by securing your mind, by spying on your mind, by setting up HARP type arrays and satellites with phased arrays that they can tap into your mind by reading the signals out and putting the signals in. It's the ultimate security state, when you can read people's minds, and all the millions of people, the 330 million plus Americans, don't even know their minds are being read. I have a video on my site of monkeys being experimented on with phased arrays. There's a phased array built around the monkey's head, and Dr. Jose Delgado is MD, PhD, CIA torture doctor, explaining we can now tap the monkey's brain with no electrode implants. And they started with electrodes back in the 60s. They were putting electrodes in people's brains, including humans. In fact, that's who they were primarily using electrodes on, were humans. They did some animal testing too. But the new non-invasive interface, it's exactly like what they have in space right now. It's just an antenna array. And these antennas, they're phased arrays. They could shoot beams in a specific area to actively scan the brain. And the signals return to the antenna with the information about... there's a lot of different types of scans. I've talked about these. There's MRI, there's electron spin resonance, there's radar. There's many types, and they're using them all. And they can get all sorts of characteristics. At the subatomic level, they're getting these characteristics, which helps them piece together what it is in a remote area. What is there? Whether it's a brain or a memory, something being said, something, you know. And they're getting full video captures in real time of our brains as they're functioning and as people are walking around. Clothes and buildings don't shield. It's building penetrating. You could go deep underground. It's deep ground penetrating. So back in the 90s, there was a lot of activism against the HARP facility up in Alaska. That's just one of these facilities. Apparently the mass population was pretty damn smart back then. That facility, they were saying it could punch a hole through the ionosphere, and it's got mind control properties. Yes, it does have mind control properties, very powerful ones, and it's not the only system they have, though. And those powerful mind control properties allow a person's mind to be completely controlled. It's not just for thought surveillance and memory surveillance and intellectual property, you know, surveillance. Some of us are being controlled. Victims. We're whistleblowers. We witness government crime. We know too much. I'm having it pounded into my head, man, and I'm having thoughts put there. It's called EEG cloning. And that clone can, the thoughts and projections into my head could be from another human being, an agent who's, because it's got a lot of ability to take information from a multitude of people's minds, a computer program, a file, and they can render it and just project it in. They've tapped how to stimulate the brain's nerves. Oh god. Yeah, so just like the eyeballs are getting stimulated by electromagnetism, they've figured out how to go deep inside the brain and do that. And there's rods in different parts of the brain. They know you stimulate it like this and that. Oh, you put image into the head. Or you know, the person's hearing things. And their emotions can be put in. And they've mapped it out. And Dr. Robert Duncan explains it better. He knows more of the details. You got to talk to a neuroscience. Because the DARPA level guys who aren't, you know, they're willing to talk about classified shit, they will come out and talk about how the brain's been fully mapped out. It's very similar structure to diagrams you've seen on the eyeball. There's different rods, and those rods do different things. And that's how your emotional systems work. That's how your different whatever works in the mind. So if you know that much, then you can go in and stimulate different parts of the brain however you want. And it's precise. There is a video clip of femtosecond lasers, and that's what Duncan says is being used. And this is a whole type of interferometry. Now, femtosecond lasers, they can project signals, and that's what's being demonstrated to make plasma holograms. But that's not the least they can do with this shit. And it's interactive too. You can sit there and touch the hologram, and in real time it responds and moves. The reason this is because they're sending a signal out like radar does, right there, to create this hologram, and at the same time, return signals are being created, and that allows them to read the characteristics of what's going on right there remotely, and then they enter. You can move it around and regenerate different little holograms and move it around and stuff. Well, what they're doing with their femtosecond lasers in humans is they're using this on their brain. HARP is one of these systems, but they have femtosecond lasers elsewhere, like up in space. And what they're doing is they're shooting these lasers into people's brains to control each individual neuron and cell. And people are walking around. As they're walking around, see, it's both radar and putting signals there. So it's adjusting and interacting with the person as they're walking around doing things. And it's taking the readings out of their head and putting so it can put like thoughts and ideas interactive with the person's head and environment, what they're doing. They're scanning the environment as well as the person's head. It's way more advanced than what that video shows. That video shows just a little fairy, or like some heart shapes and different stuff, and you could touch it and do different things. The military has scaled that up and had it for far longer. A lot of this stuff has been possessed by the military for a while. And the low-level people, the people without classification, and the consumers have gotten nothing compared to this to play with. So you're all like, oh, how could this work? If they've kept all that type of technology out of the hands of the public. They've got some cheap, brain reading technology out there. They've got ear implants, and they've got some, they're talking about putting optical implants. But that's, that demonstrates that we do have the capability to interface with the human. But most of the real technology is in the military's hands. That's just a low-tech side. You don't need implants. They replaced implants decades and decades ago with non-invasive versions that use radio signals and little laser beams and stuff. But when they go and they build a HARP type array, or they build a new satellite and they put it up there, that's to control the people. And they're very secure from us with that. You notice whenever we do a big old protest, we're in control, man. We can't do nothing. The military is being used against us. We're enslaved. No, the human race is never going to get free without serious changes. This is a worldwide problem. Everyone is enslaved to the American government. They have us more enslaved than we even know. Everything that we're doing every day is controlled by them. What we know and what we don't know. And they are way ahead of us, and they have capabilities to kill us all if they want. They could just nuke us. They'll kill only the poor people, if that's what they want to do, leaving only the rich people. What are you going to do when they decide to use it like that? There's no protections from it. The U.S. Supreme Court ain't there to protect you. The military ain't. The law enforcement ain't. Law enforcement's protecting us. They go in like the Illuminati. They fucking sweep up evidence. They cover up evidence. They frame murders as suicides. So guys like me, if they're going to frame it as if I was crazy, or like I committed a suicide, or it was a natural death when it was all murder. They could do this, and it's both the Republican Party and the Democrats doing it. It's not just one side or the other. It's not just the president. It's not just Paul Ryan, the dumbass little Congress speaker. He spoke about some of this technology. He's dangerous, man. It reminds me of the Sith Lord. One Sith Lord. And he's hiding the fact he's a Sith Lord. He spoke about the directed energy weapon platform our government built and possesses. And he said, we need to beef it up and start using it more publicly. not just direct energy, he also called it the ballistic missile defense. Because that's another name for the system. It's got a lot of names and a lot of purposes. Alright, well, anyway, those people who were talking about the HARP type arrays in the 90s were damn smart. They were, damn, don't build this, it's going to be used to mine. They were right. We should have listened to them. Should have tore it down. Shouldn't let the government build things like that. They can be used to mind control and terrorize people and spy on them.